Give me a little intro there, Gomer.
Let's put on the show.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-host,
Beth,
Brian,
and Kirsten.
So we are doing a fun blue sky topic this week, which we are going to revamp a now defunct Disney attraction. We've all been tasked with coming up with a modernized version of an attraction that is no longer with us. So I'm very excited about this topic. I know there was some hesitation when we were talking about this in pre-show. But
well, I am excited at least.
yeah,
I'm excited.
I'm so excited. We're all excited.
doesn't sound too promising, but it'll be a fun one, I'm sure. Before we dive into our show topic this week, let's do some news. First thing that we have on here is that we have a new after hours event coming to Magic Kingdom, kind of in place of Boo to You. It's Disney's After Hours Boo Bash Halloween. It's going to start August 2021, just like the Not So Scary would. Yeah, this is kind of like the transitional Not So Scary light, right? Like, that's how I'm reading this.
I think so.
It's like
I don't.
the Epcot festivals has been a taste of. This is a taste of Not So Scary.
Yeah.
I don't really understand how it's like that different though, because the description I read, it's like candy stations, themed beverages, and like food items, and I'm like, that just seems like normal besides the parade. But I mean, they have cavalcades, the cadaver dance. Like, I don't really understand the difference.
Well, I think the
Excuse
two
me?
biggest thing, the two biggest things is they're not going to have the Hocus Pocus Spectacular or the Boo to You parade. So, like, that's the best part of Not So Scary. So I think that they know a bunch of people would be getting super pissed off if they were still going to, offer full price tickets to a Not So Scary event and not have those two things there.
I mean, especially Boo to You, but at the same time, like, it's understandable from the perspective of them not doing parades already, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it feels weird that this is even a thing that we can get upset. Like, people are getting upset about.
I mean, it's
Oh, yeah, I
this
mean,
or you
none
get
of
nothing.
That's
right.
fair.
None of the elements that make Not So Scary are in place on a regular park day. So why would people be expecting Not So Scary to be happening? I totally agree that this is better than nothing, I guess.
I think this is, like, honestly, this is the best that we could have gotten right now. That's my 2 cents on it. Like, I think, like you said, a lot of the parts that people expect from Not So Scary aren't in place now. So, like, the fact that we're even getting candy stops, which feels like something they probably wouldn't be doing in a post-COVID world, or I don't know, like the special characters, the hit or miss kind of thing. I'm sure they're not going to be photo ops. Their meet and greets are going to be like the photo op things that they've been doing. But, like, still, that's fun. And costumes.
I will say, I got to give Al a shout out here that he made the point that most of this stuff was happening last fall during Halloween, and it was not an additional charge. So I do think that that's kind of crazy. Like, obviously, they weren't giving out free candy last year with your regular park ticket, but is that really worth whatever they're going to be charging for this?
No,
You know?
I think I'm very curious to see if they are charging like full Not So Scary prices for this event.
They
Because
can't,
if that's the case,
right?
they can. I don't think. I mean, they can, but
Well, they can.
people
But
are
will they?
starved for entertainment.
Yeah,
That's
but
a good
it's already
point.
happening, I guess, is the thing. It's like not so scary tickets are what, $80 to $100 depending on the night you go. The Villains After Hours or the like Disney Magic After Hours, whatever after hours events they've been doing are about the same, right? Like $80 to $90.
I'm wanting to
So
say that
like
Not So Scary
what's
got up more than
the
that.
value here?
Well, I think the most comparable thing is going to be like an after hours event, right? Like this isn't Not So Scary. We've already said that. Like we've already made that point enough that this isn't like the Halloween party we expect. But if we look at it from the perspective of like this is an after hours party with a little extra, it starts to look a little better too.
I guess they're just like, hey, pay for even more so reduced capacity than we're already at.
Probably.
Like the
I mean, that's
parks are
the
at
point
what 35% right now, and they're like, okay, well you can pay extra and get back to those like post-apocalyptic crowds like at the beginning of when we first reopened. Which
That's
honestly
honestly
might
why
be
I'm
worth it
excited
in
to
that
see
sense.
pricing, because I know that, I mean, I've talked before about how my dad is not a person that waits in line. And I haven't exactly told him that when we're there in September, I don't think there will be Fast Pass. He's not going to be happy about that. So I'm like, we would definitely pay for this for the adults, if only to like go ride stuff without lines.
Yeah.
what there's part of me, and maybe this is just me being super cynical about how Disney is right now, but like I don't even think they need to reduce the capacity. I think the fact that it's later in the day and it's gonna end up, my guess is it's gonna
It'll
end up
already
functioning
be
like,
reduced.
yeah, like it'll already be reduced on its own, but my guess is it's also going to function like the after hours parties anyway, where Magic Kingdom's at a like shorter day window already. So they bump it back to like 6-ish. They kick everybody out or they quote unquote kick everybody out around like 5. You've got a window in the parks where people wouldn't normally be there, even like in COVID hours, because it's probably going to run to 10, 11 o'clock if they can pull it off that way. I think people will pay for this even if it isn't reduced capacity.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, so it says that some nights it's going to be 9 p.m. to midnight, and other nights will be 9:30 to 12:30. Like, I feel like if the park just stayed open later and didn't have an extra like cost, that those hours would already be a severely reduced capacity without making it a ticketed thing. So it feels to me kind of like Disney's taking advantage.
I mean,
Oh, they for sure
that's
are.
their
little bit.
MO, right? Like, not to be too
Well, yeah,
technical,
sure.
but this is what they do.
I mean, any business you say, hey,
Yeah.
can we
It is what
offer
they
the same
do.
thing and get money or not get money, they're going to choose get money.
Yeah.
I just felt like this would be a better value at a park that people stay later at. I don't know, like,
Maybe that's what they're
or like
trying to
Hollywood
do.
Studios, where the lines are insane on a lot of stuff right now because there's so much quote unquote new stuff that's only been open for a couple of years. If you offered this in the Hollywood Studios, I feel like it would be a better value. I don't
Yeah.
know. Just my 2
I
cents.
mean, you're not wrong. But are they going to do it?
I
No.
mean, hey, Dr. Facilier, he's not a character that comes out a lot. I'll probably go just for that. It just kind of sucks as an annual pass holder that I have to pay this extra cost now in a time that would normally be free.
Yeah.
And I'll
Oh, hey,
think,
I forgot to tell y'all, I renewed my pass, and now I get to complain about that too.
I'm going to say
woo!
this.
Yay.
Being an annual pass holder doesn't make you special.
Hey,
Oh.
You wouldn't
I mean-
understand, Mario.
You're right, I wouldn't, but it doesn't make you special. And I'm speaking on Disney's side of this one. We know that to be
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, I can't. I gotta go with Mario.
Well, no. Are we completely undervalued and they don't care about us at all, absolutely. But that doesn't mean that we're not special. Okay,
Right.
You're special in your
we're
own
very
mind.
special. That's right.
Maybe not from a financial point of view.
Just not in Disney's opinion.
Well,
Hey, I
next thing we've got on
think
here.
you're pretty special, Brian.
Oh, thanks. You're special too, Beth.
God.
I think
Aw,
the next thing that we
thanks.
have on here is pretty special, so let's talk about that. A celebration of Festival of the Lion King has started, which is like the Festival of the Lion King light-ish. The only two things that have been notably removed from the show are the Tumble Monkeys and the aerial performers. However, everything
The
else
two
seems
best
to be
parts.
Yep. My future job.
Yeah.
right there.
So this is basically like the theme of the news this week. It's like Disney's coming back with something, but taking out the two best parts of it.
Right.
I mean, for the most part, sure.
I don't mean that as a slight to any of the performers in Festival of the Lion King, though, because they're all incredible. It just so happens that the Tumble Monkeys and aerial performances are, I feel like, the most attention grabbing, at least.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
But hey, live entertainment coming back little by little. I'm here for it.
Before we move on,
For sure.
is there anything else I want to say about Lion King?
No.
I was just going to add, I didn't put this on the news because I just thought of it when you said that, Brian, about the theme. They've also announced they're bringing back the college program with changes.
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
all read that?
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, I personally...
We should talk about that.
Well, they've changed it, so now you can no longer request any roles. You have to be open to all roles, and they assign roles closer to time, which I think is terrible.
You're just lucky to even be here. That's what they're saying.
Exactly. But also, I do think, this is me being my negative person again, that it's not lost on me that they are bringing back the college program before they have recalled all of their full-time, part-time, seasonal, etc. cast members, which in my opinion is because they want cheap labor and they don't have to pay benefits or above minimum wage to college programmers. So it's great for
Yeah, I
people
don't
who want to
disagree
do
with
this.
Plus,
that.
they're forced to stay in Disney's nice, fancy new housing, right?
Yeah. Great for
Well,
people
they
who want to do
also-
the program, not great for, anti-capitalists.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's great that they're opening the college program back, but I totally agree with like every point you just made.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, speaking of another thing coming back, let's throw this news topic in there. We've got confirmation that Beverly will be returning to Club Cool this summer when it comes back to Epcot. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
But the Frosty Melon and Inca Cola aren't coming back. I'm just
What?
kidding.
Oh my gosh. Brian, don't scare me like that. Oh, although it might not. Now I'm gonna. Oh, okay. We'll just have to wait and see what else comes back. I like that Beverly was the one that they had to call out, though. Like, don't be afraid. You'll still get to trick your friends into drinking something disgusting.
Yep.
I also love that they confirmed this via the Disney Parks TikTok channel, which is a wild statement in and of itself.
I mean,
Yeah, that is pretty weird.
they're it's like that meme, like, how do you do, fellow kids?
Pretty much. Oh.
Also, not trying to call out Blog Mickey here, but could they have not gotten a picture of the soda fountain with like all of the flavors available?
I mean, I think that's a tall task for like anybody to get a working photo of all of the sodas.
They
'Cause
could
there's
have like
always one or two.
photoshopped one over it.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But there's always like one or two that was out. That's like you had to spin around to like one of the soda machines, and one of them would inevitably have the one you were missing, but it was out on the other three.
That's true. I'm kind of curious to see the inner workings of this. Like, I guess each one probably has its own like syrup packet thing that goes into it. I don't know why I would think there'd be like one giant one in the back that just fed all of them, but
Yeah, have you this is from my experience at working at Pop Century quick service. Yes, there's like a big back room if it's anything like Pop Century, which I'm guessing it is, and they're labeled, and you get a big cardboard box and that has like the liquid. It's like, boxed wine basically, but bigger with all the syrup. And then you just like there's one thing of Beverly per, like fountain.
for each dispenser, I
Right.
guess. Okay.
Right. And so when that one's empty, you would refill that one specifically. Yes.
That seems like a lot of work for Beverly.
God, that was like the
And-
worst job. The soda fountains, 100% the worst job.
Super sticky.
Yes, like it just smelled and like, like if I ever go to like a restaurant where they have like get your own soda and it's like, the end of the night or whatever, and it's sticky, or you can like smell that sweet smell. I'm like, oh my God, this is giving me
Yeah.
It gives you PTSD.
Oh, so bad.
I remember I didn't have to change out the little, the syrup things, but just when I volunteered at Give Kids the World, one of the time I was, working in like the cafeteria area, and I was just like cleaning stuff. And like one of the things I was doing was cleaning the soda fountain, and then like, it'd be like an hour later, and it's like, oh my God, it is like just as sticky as it was an hour ago when I cleaned
Yes.
it.
Awful.
Oh, that's gross.
Disgusting. Worst job ever. Anyway.
Well, the last news story that we have on here is that Disney is going to start ending temperature checks for guests and cast members. Part of their, I guess, Florida's lessening on COVID restrictions, because I don't know if this is a Disney thing, but I know Universal went down to 3 feet.
3 feet and no temperature checks, right?
Yeah, so Disney's kind of following suit here. Looks like, yeah, they are following the same procedure. It's going to go down to 3 feet, and it's also going to be no temperature checks. I totally didn't mind the temperature checks in the park. I don't think like they held up. Bag check held up more time than temperature checks did, and the fact that bag check isn't around anymore, just I don't know. The whole process to get in was so much more smooth than it had been previously.
Yeah.
Even with that extra step. But
yeah, for sure.
Either way,
I mean, I think this is fine. Like, I mean, there's still a pandemic going on. I'm glad that so many people have gotten vaccinated, but realistically, like temperature checks, I don't really feel like if you were feeling that bad, you would be going to the park anyway. And if you were, then you're like one out of every, 300 people probably. You know what I'm saying? That had a fever.
Yeah, and that was the
I don't
other
know.
thing too, was like I know there was a lot of talk originally that like the temperature checks weren't really super effective for determining if somebody had COVID or not. So I kind of get it,
Right.
Yeah.
but I just think it's like
Plus, with summer right around the corner, well, summer happening already, especially in Florida, people are going to be hot regardless of whether or not they have COVID.
that's very true.
And the other thing too that I find weird is that like bringing the social distancing down to 3 feet. I feel like that's just personal space. Like you don't need to be getting within 3 feet of somebody you don't know in the first place.
Yeah.
But have y'all
Like,
noticed?
I mean, What were you saying, Kirsten?
I agree.
Have y'all noticed that you're like way more conscious of your personal space now? Because like I was in line
Oh, so
yesterday
much
at a
more.
store and I was standing, like 4 feet back from the person in front of me, whatever. And the woman behind me was like right behind me, and I was like so uncomfortable. Whereas like, over a year ago, that would have just been normal.
Oh yeah. It's definitely
Mhm.
changed the perspective, I think, of pretty much everybody on personal space. Which
Well, I mean, like I get that, and I think that's great, but I feel like the problem is obviously less me and less us, but more other people, right? Like when we were in Disney, I can think of one specific incident that really like still grinds my gears. We were in line for Star Tours, and there was a family in front of us, and there was a guy who was standing like right behind the family in front of them, which they very obviously weren't with his mask down and vaping in line for Star Tours. Like
wow.
people just don't care, and the problem there is like it's obviously you're afraid of that stuff, you're worried about that stuff, whatever, don't go to Disney, and I get that, but at the same time you have so much faith in people to maintain those distances and not go to the park when they're sick or whatever, and you still see people that do stuff like that.
Yeah, because people are
Right.
selfish and they suck.
Yes, moral of the story.
Mhm.
But before we get too off topic here and too into the pandemic talk, let's go to our topic for this week.
Hang on, we have
Actually,
housekeeping.
I was just about to say, we have housekeeping too. So,
So we just wanted to say thank you to our newest patron, Christiana. We are very happy to have you and hope you enjoy our existing 43 hours of content. And keep an eye out for the release of our April Watch Club that's coming out, the audio for the DCOM Descendants that we watched. That was a super fun one.
that was definitely something. I don't know if I would say it was a fun one, but it was definitely something.
The Watch Club
I
was
had a
fun.
good time.
Watching the movie wasn't too fun.
Yeah, that's about fair.
I enjoyed
So
both. So
I will say the Watch Club was far more enjoyable than the actual movie.
Yeah.
That
It was
said,
funny. I have to tell y'all, like, my mom was visiting me when we were like watching this, and she like walked in while it was on. She just like watched about 10 seconds of it, and she's just like, "Oh my god, what is this?" So,
and why are you watching it?
yeah, it's like, it's for the podcast, Mom. She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Oh wow.
Well, that said, bad movies aside, that brings us to our show topic this week. The now defunct ride Revamp. Wow, Rehab. Not what I wanted to say there.
Same thing.
Well, yeah, I guess. So, who wants to start us off with our topic this week? We really don't have parameters per se. It's more the attraction no longer has to exist. It has to take up the same space that it took, or that the existing location has. And we have to kind of keep it realistic. But outside of that, I think we were pretty open for this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody want to take us away first?
I can start, I guess.
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay, so I picked the oft forgotten attraction, Body Wars from Epcot. I feel like in the realm of defunct rides at Disney, this is one that doesn't get a lot of popularity for whatever reason. And I was, I remember riding it as a kid, and I was trying to think back on it, and I was like, well, maybe it just like isn't that popular because it closed down so long ago and everything. I thought this closed down in like the late 90s. This closed down in 2007. I was very surprised when I saw that.
Well, I think
Oh wow.
the whole reason that it doesn't get talked about a lot is because it's basically the same system as Star Tours.
It's the same system, sure, but the experience.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
That girl died.
Oh, well, that too.
That too. Well, not only, I think a lot of people also had tons of like motion sickness issues with it. and everything, which is wild to me that, like, I don't know, something like Mission Space you would think would cause way, way, way more motion sickness issues, but for whatever reason, Body Wars did. But yeah, so I chose that because I thought it was a cool ride and a cool concept that could really be improved by just bringing it into the 21st century a little bit. Another thing that I learned too when I was going back and watching it, did you know that Leonard Nimoy directed the movie for it?
Wow.
Oh wow.
I did not know
That's
that.
a interesting connection.
It was. I was very surprised to see it, but anyways, that was a kind of off-topic point. But what I wanted to do was kind of bring the same idea that Body Wars was doing, but I wanted it to be more interactive, and I wanted it to be maybe a little bit more thrilling. So, what I thought was, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Disney Quest back in the day, but one of my favorite things that Disney Quest did was they called it like a design your own roller coaster attraction. And what it was it was a very, very basic system that you would like go on. You'd pick like one base roller coaster, and then like at different points in the track, it would allow you to add in like like a flip or a corkscrew or some other thing in there. And once you got done with it, you had this roller coaster, whatever that you had designed, and they put you into this little, it was like a gyroscopic ball that you could fit like two people in. And, it like moved and flipped and everything according to the roller coaster that you had designed previously. So I really wanted to take that ride vehicle system and use it for Body Wars. So the basic idea for the plot line of this ride would be that this pharmaceutical company is trying to develop a new technology that will allow them to shrink people down to a microscopic size, and that they can be injected into a person's bloodstream and deliver medicine that way. So the problem is that they have to run tests to show that you in one of these microscopic vehicles can be shrunk down and deliver medicine to a person's certain part of a person's body the fastest, or faster than conventional medicine would be. So you get in one of these gyroscopic ball things. You are shrunk down, injected into the bloodstream, and now you have to race the other people in their own ride vehicle systems to this part of the body and deliver the medicine to them the fastest. So this would, I think, be really cool. I always wanted to see that like technology with the like kind of gyroscopic movements be included with something that you could control. So this would be something I would really, really love to see sometime in the future.
That sounds really neat. I mean, I like the idea of using that system in a more unique way to kind of tell a different story. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I also think this is a good way to get back to the edutainment that Epcot is so beloved for, but also throw that cool, unique, futuristic spin on it, and also come up with some new ride vehicle technology.
Yeah, definitely. And this sounds like definitely a more interactive version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not that I ever rode. I never rode the original, but I know the concept of it. But I think that you did a good job revamping it. It sounds pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like I should go
Anybody
now
wanna go?
because there's the storm over here is getting a little out of control, and I feel like we might have a tornado
Yes.
warning or something. I finally muted myself because I was it felt like the lightning hit, my front yard.
Oh no.
We'll stay safe.
No,
but yeah, if you want to go, you
do
can.
mine. Yeah, let me do mine. Sorry, we're gonna have some background sounds to this one. Maybe if I talk really slow and soothing,
Ambient
people can listen to this
noise.
to go to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Anyway,
go.
I had studio backlot tour, and I actually kind of went the opposite from Brian, and I like took it way back to like, I personally never liked the intro to studio backlot tour, like the whole little water thing, and then I never liked the
Did we lose Kirsten, or was that me?
I think we lost her.
Okay, I was like,
Mm.
I thought it was me. So I was like, I always am like, I'm not gonna say anything because maybe it's me. But yeah, I think it was her this time. So she didn't like the beginning where they show you how movies are made, and then she didn't like the middle how they show you how movies are made. Did she like the attraction?
Poor Kirsten. Do you want to go, or do you want me to go, Beth? She said, "Go on, go on without her."
Dang. All right. Well, hopefully she can come back in and we can go again. All right, I'll do mine.
Okay.
Similar area anyway. I picked the Great Movie Ride for mine, which I feel like is a pretty easy concept to revamp for the modern age. You know, you could just like pop some new movies in for the ones that people don't really know about anymore. But I did try to do a little bit extra with mine, with a few little new twists. So, keeping with the same concept of going through movie scenes from different genres. First up, we had musicals. If you guys will recall, there was Footlight Parade, Singing in the Rain, and Mary Poppins. So, no, I did not choose Hamilton because technically it's not actually a movie. I wanted to, but I didn't think that would be right. But since Disney owns Fox now, I thought that I would throw in that very first scene, The Greatest Showman, because that was a very popular and well done movie in my opinion. And I thought that that scene with Footlight Parade, where it's got all the girls standing, I feel like that could be pretty easily transformed into the circus ring, and you could have Hugh Jackman and the squad hanging out, maybe the trapeze artist hanging from the ceiling, little beat from the movie, a couple of songs playing in the background kind of thing. Then moving on to Singing in the Rain, we're just going to knock that whole scene out and make the Mary Poppins scene bigger. So add the facade of the Banks house and Cherry Tree Lane and give those animatronics a little update and update a couple of the set pieces as well. So then we would move into the gangster kind of scene of the Great Movie Ride. And keeping in mind that this is a imaginary world where Disney has the rights to Marvel on the East Coast and the parks as well as the West Coast, we're going to change this whole gangster scene to rubble of New York City after the big fight at the end of the Avengers. And we still have a tour guide, of course. That's, I feel like, an integral part of the Great Movie Ride. And as we roll into this rubble, the tour guide seems kind of unsure of the situation. So they stop the car and get out and go into a storefront to see what's going on. But as the tour guide disappears, Loki appears with the Tesseract and sees the abandoned car and uses that as an opportunity and decides he's going to use this car and use the guests as leverage and protection as he travels through his little mischievous plans. And I feel like there's a little bit of very, very mild Marvel spoilers happening in my little thing here. So forgive me if you haven't watched all of them. But it's very mild. It's not going to ruin anything big. So projection mapping is used as Loki warps the vehicle through space and accidentally lands in the middle of a big shootout in space with some TIE fighters and X-Wings. And I thought it'd be kind of funny if he made a little joke and said something like, I think we've already had enough of that back on your planet, and then warps the guests out of that scene into the next scene. Because Hollywood Studios, the Star Wars park. So then we
love
get
it.
to the Raiders of the Lost Ark scene, and Loki sees that shining gemstone and thinks it may be of interest. So he steps off of the car to go investigate, and he's caught by the tour guide, who is actually an undercover member of the Time Variance Authority, which for you non-Marvel fans is the organization which the Disney Plus Loki show is going to be about. And
Thank
the
you.
tour guide says that they were worried that this was going to happen with Loki on the loose, apologizes for the mischief, and uses that trap door effect to quote unquote send Loki back to headquarters with some more projection mapping and stuff to add to the effects.
Can y'all hear me now?
So the tour guide says they're gonna. Yes.
Oh, thank
Yes.
God. I've been waiting for a break so I could ask.
Well, welcome back. I went ahead and started mine so that we wouldn't be late on time.
Yeah, good.
But it's almost it's almost done. So the tour guide says that they'll finish up the tour so it doesn't mess up that timeline any further, and they talk about how the next few scenes are from classic movies and you just don't mess with the classics. So we're going to keep the next few scenes from like Casablanca, Fantasia, and Wizard of Oz and just refurbish those scenes a little bit. And the tour guide wraps up the tour, thanks everyone for their cooperation, tells them to be careful and keep an eye out for mischief, and a big flash of light as they disappear and bring the group back to the beginning. And scene.
Nice. Even as a not huge Marvel fan, I like it.
Thanks. Just wishful thinking that one day we'll have Marvel in our Disney parks over here. Of course, not in this setting, since that is now Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So,
Okay,
Kirsten, did you want to try it again?
Yeah. Okay. I could hear some shade happening towards me not liking the beginning of the show or the Catastrophe Canyon part. I just like.
Did you like the attraction? Was the question.
Well, yeah, I just like the actual like movie stuff, like actual props or whatever. So I would take it back to when, originally it was like a walking tour. And I think could have the outdoor area. They used to have the street that had like the Golden Girls house and whatever. I think they could have some reused great movie ride props like the Casablanca plane and, the figures from the Wizard of Oz, that sort of thing. And also like attraction props like Spectro. This is an imaginary world where Spectro magic prop floats didn't get destroyed, and like the houses from Toontown, that would be a bunch of cool stuff to see outside. And then inside, I thought it would be neat to focus on do some actual Disney World stuff. I thought it would be really cool to have like through the ages costumes, like previous cast member costumes, from like the time that Magic Kingdom opened, up till more recently. And I don't know if it would be kosher or not to do like actual fur costumes and like face character costumes, because y'all know that Mickey has changed a lot over the years. That might ruin it, but I think theoretically it'd be really cool to see like the original Mickey costume and then how it's sort of transformed over the ages. And then I also think, because y'all know how I feel about One Man's Dream, and I love all the models that they always have out there from, whatever's currently happening. And so I think that since they're doing so many live action movies, live action remakes, eventually we're just going to have to embrace it. And so I think it would be really cool if they did comparisons between like the original animated movie and the live action remake. And so they had like the models, like the maquettes from the original animated movies, and then maybe computers or TV screens with, you know, designs from the live action remakes of the same things, and like if they showed different scenes between the two, you know, that were the same but like showed how they were made differently, right? Like The Lion King, like how was it made in 2018 or whatever versus how is it made in like 1994.
That's cool.
I
And
really
then-
like that idea.
Yeah, and like have interviews with the crew, like also on video screens, like original people who did the animating, and then people who were responsible for translating that original movie into like a live action movie, and like the technical aspects of it, and you know the creative aspects of it. So yeah, that's basically
Nice.
it. Kind of an amalgamation of all the
Nice.
behind the scenes stuff that I like.
I really like that though, because like you get a peek of the more Disney stuff. I feel like,
Yeah.
which in a park that's kind of geared about Disney, you know, it's kind of they're right up their alley.
Yeah. So that's what I got.
So I guess that
What
just
is Brian?
I know. I definitely agree that we should skip the OG costumes. Yeah, those are pretty creepy.
it's horrifying. So I guess that just leaves me then. I had picked probably one that I thought would be the most daunting, and I found a really clever idea that I think you're all gonna enjoy. So I picked Journey into Imagination, which kind of is cheating because the original track is still all mostly there. But I felt like there was a tongue-in-cheek joke to kind of be made about the current attraction itself. So the new attraction that we're going to build in Journey into Imagination with Figment's place is a journey into the Great Imaginations. So we're going to start by going into the Imagination Institute like we do now. The ride's going to start in a similar way as it does. But all of a sudden, as you get into that first section of like the Imagination Institute where you get the videos, everything's gonna like get dark, and you're gonna be able to like ride through, but the actual Imagination Institute itself is going to be basically powered down. And you're gonna hit a point in the Imagination Institute where you come upon Dreamfinder in one of the offices, and he just describes to the people that are on the vehicle that the Imagination Institute lost power because it wasn't very full of imagination.
I love it.
What is going to happen is he's going to start the ride the same way that it would the original ride, where he starts to describe Figment, and as he's describing Figment in the song, the One Little Spark song that we all know and love, it's actually going to materialize Figment in a way that, like, as he says, like the two tiny wings, the horns, and all that, like he goes through the basic description of Figment. Those parts of Figment are actually going to appear until the full animatronic appears. So Figment and Dreamfinder are going to recruit the guests to go through some of the greatest imaginative minds and try to bring the Imagination Institute back. So it's going to be kind of themed similar to the original ride, except the ride isn't going to focus so much on Dreamfinder's imagination, but it's going to kind of go through like the greats. So like there's going to be an arts and entertainment, and we're going to speak to different film directors and like very briefly talk about why they're important and like have different thoughts or imaginations or things that they've brought to life. It's going to go through like the science and technology and all that. And I think that all of those pieces of making imagination like a real thing is great and important for this ride, especially in Epcot, because it has that edutainment feel to it. But the part that I really wanted to kind of bring to the ride is to highlight the guest's imagination, because if you look into the history of Journey into Imagination, the second ride was pretty hated because it told the guests flat out that they don't have imagination. And what I wanted to do was the end of the ride, I wanted to have a section of the ride where Dreamfinder asks the guests to draw their figment of imagination, and they'll have like a screen kind of like Spaceship Earth does, where they'll be able to like add different parts to a figment. It's going to be filtered in a way that they can't make it inappropriate, of course, because we know guests are going to try to cross that line. But they'll draw their figment of imagination or add the parts to a figment, and then it'll pop up in the end of the ride with Dreamfinder and Figment as the Imagination Institute's brought back to being full powered again. So that was my take on Journey into Imagination. And I think that this ride really could use a revamp, specifically because Imagination leads to like such cool animatronics and cool ride tech, and the ride now kind of sucks.
I really love that. Honestly, like the ride that you described on its own would be cool just for like the average Disney guest, but all the like tongue-in-cheek stuff for the really big Disney fans is there. So yeah, I think that's awesome. I would love that.
Yeah,
that took me a lot of thinking, but I don't know. I would love if Disney would do something like that, because like you said, it's everything. It's got the tongue-in-cheek jokes at themselves. It's got the parts that the average guest isn't going to understand. And I think really a lot of Epcot rides kind of lose the edutainment feel now because of the state that Epcot's in. So I'd be happy to have that back.
Definitely.
Cool. So I definitely want to put the question out there, because I know we haven't done this in a while. If there's any rides that our listeners have thoughts or feelings about that they would want to come back and what their ideas are, definitely a good place to do that would either be post them in our Discord. Most likely that would be the best place to do it, but I want to see it on like social media and stuff too, because I'm always curious to see what people would talk about with this kind of thing.
Yeah, and we've definitely gotten some good ideas from our listeners on stuff like this that we reached out for. So I know you guys got some stuff y'all can come up with.
Definitely. And just as a reminder, if you need help finding our Discord, you can go to the link in our Instagram bio, and it has all of our links for everything important, but most importantly, our Discord, because that is where we are most active. We have a great little community there, and we would love to have everyone be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for joining us again for another episode of
Stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.